Ms. Hoerig, Your Honor. Ms. Hoerig, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Christina.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Claudia Christina Sobral.
Okay. And have you gone by other names?
Yes, I've been married. Sobral is my maiden name, and I was married before under the name Bolte, and then I married a second time in Ohio. My last name was Hoerig, and then I married a third time in Brazil, and then I had another last name. I don't think it's important. But I never liked my first name. I always went by Chris.
Okay. So you always went by Chris, not Claudia?
No, not Claudia.
And so you've gone by Sobral, Bolte, and Hoerig?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember, was April 27, 2005 the first time you talked with Carl Hoerig?
I do.
Okay. And you met him on Match.com?
Yes.
Okay. At that time, where were you living?
In New York City.
Okay. Where in New York City?
In Queens. I had an apartment
Okay.
in Queens.
And how long had you lived in New York City?
About 20 years, 18 to 20 years.
Okay. And you were living in an apartment or a condo at that time?
I was living in a condo that I had just bought, I think in the year 2000, when I got a job with a CPA firm as an accountant.
Okay. How much did you buy the condo for?
I think I paid a little bit over $100,000.
Okay. And it was
I'm sorry, a little bit under $100,000. It's a longer time ago. I don't remember it. So.
okay. And were you working in April 27th of 2005?
Yes, I was doing well. I was working as an accountant in, I had left the CPA firm. Actually, at that time, I was working for a private company, communications. They publish books. They do communication.
Okay.
I think PR is called PR for writers.
And you were working as an accountant.
I was the controller, working as an accountant for the company.
And you at times have hesitated. English is not your first language.
No, I have a little bit difficulty sometimes understanding and speaking the proper expressions.
What is your first language?
Portuguese.
Okay. And where were you born?
Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
And when did you come to the United States?
I think it was 1987, 88, or 89. I don't remember exactly.
I'll ask it this way. How old were you when you came to the United States?
Oh, okay. I was 24.
24. Okay.
23, 24, yes.
And had you already gotten a college degree at that point?
I'm sorry?
Had you already had an advanced degree when you came to the
Yes,
U.S.?
I had my accounting degree, bachelor's degree, 4-year degree in accounting.
Okay.
I was a straight A student
Okay, and that was in Brazil?
in Brazil.
Okay, and that was in Portuguese?
That was in Portuguese.
Okay. And so when you came to New York City, did you continue your education?
Yes, I went to University of Hofstra.
Could you spell that, please?
Hofst. University of Hofstra in Long Island, New York. And I took more college accounting courses to supplement, to understand the terminology, accounting terminology in English better, to supplement my degree.
Okay. But you did not get a second degree?
No. I tried, they said it was not necessary. I already had a degree, so I just took the additional accounting courses.
Okay. And you stated before you were married to Dr. Bolte?
I married, to Dr. Bolton. He was a doctor in New York. Not before. He was still going through his medical residency. He was not finished yet when I met him.
Okay. And how long were you married to him?
10 years.
And you guys got divorced?
Yeah, I filed for divorce because I was very abused by in my marriage.
Just stop. So you filed for divorce?
I filed for divorce.
And the divorce was granted?
It was granted.
And how many years was that before you met Mr. Hoerig?
I filed for divorce in 98, so I was single in 98, 99, and then I met Carl in 2005, so about 5 years.
Okay. So let's jump back to April 2005. You met Carl on Match.com, right?
Right.
Okay. And initially you had some concerns about talking with him and having a relationship with him?
I did, because I thought it was weird that a man from Ohio would contact a woman in New York, being that I put the range of a person that I wanted to meet right in New York City, like 10 miles, and there comes a man that was like 500 miles away from me. I thought it was strange.
Okay. When you said,
I questioned him about that.
Okay. When you said you put a range on it, on Match.com you can enter how far away from you want to meet people.
Yes.
Okay. And I think you said you put the range at 10 miles.
Yes.
Okay. And so Carl was the one that contacted you?
Yes.
And did you tell him about this concern that he lived 500 miles away?
I said, yes, I told him, I said, why are you contacting a woman in New York, being that you're in Ohio? And he gave me a story, a weird story that didn't make any sense.
Okay. Did he tell you he was in the Air Force Reserve?
He did tell me that he was in the U.S. Air Force.
Okay. And did he tell you that he could relocate to Stewart, New York?
Right, that was the story he told me. He said, I saw you, I've been following you on Match.com for months, but I finally decided to contact you because now I have an opportunity to move to New York. There was a air base 50 miles from New York. I think it's called Stewart. And I'm going to move there. I'm single. I have no children. I've been divorced for, I think he said 10 years. And I don't have any children living with me. My children live in North Carolina. So I'm free to move to any place in the U.S. And I've been thinking about moving to New York. And I can move to Stewart, that is 50 miles from New York.
Okay. And after you guys exchanged a few emails, he flew into New York?
Yeah, we exchanged a few emails for like a week. And he said, look, I can fly anywhere I want because I have this flying privileges. You can just tell me what time you want to meet, the day and time you want me to be in New York, and I'll be there. But I was working, so I think I told him that he could come on a Friday. He did show up on a Friday, just the way he said.
Okay.
And he said, you can give me last minute notice. I'll prove to you I can be there. He did. He did that.
Okay.
Just like he said.
Okay. So he flew in Friday just like he said?
Yeah, he impressed me because, he wasn't lying. He said he could do it, and he did it. I kind of gave him a test. I said, I'm going to tell him last minute. I don't know if I told him that on a Thursday or on a Friday. It was short notice.
Okay.
He showed up.
Okay. And
All
how...
dressed up really nice and to really impress any woman. And
Okay.
he did impress me.
And so he showed up on a Friday, and he spent the whole weekend with you?
He spent Saturday and Sunday with me. I don't know if he went home Sunday night or Monday morning. I think it was Sunday night because I had to work Monday morning.
Okay. And the two of you went out and about in New York?
Yeah, we had a good time. I took him to a lot of places in New York. I introduced New York to him. He was not familiar with New York. And New York's like my home's like it's my second home. It's almost like my first home because I was so young when I moved there. So I know New York very well, and I took him places. We had a good time.
Okay. And when you spent the weekend in New York, who paid for everything?
We shared, really.
Okay. And after he came and visited New York, you continued talking on email and the phone?
Yes, from that point on, actually, he proposed to me that same night. And then we basically, we agreed to get married that same very night.
Okay, so let's walk back there a second. So he's in the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and he proposed to you?
He proposed to me that very Friday.
Okay. And what did you think when he proposed to you?
I thought it was great. I mean, I was very happy to hear that. But I said, oh yeah, my intentions are to marry you because I like you, but we need to know each other better, and you need to move to New York.
Okay. And how old were you at that point in time?
I was 39. Wait, that was me. 39. Oh, wait, what year was that?
2005.
39 or 40.
Okay. And so after that first weekend in New York, you flew out to Ohio to see him?
Yes. Then was my turn. The first time he went to New York. The second time, he had a pajama party with his friends from the U.S. Air Force.
Well, let's stop there. Let's stop there and walk back. So you flew out to Ohio to see him?
I flew, to this pajama party. He made me buy all kinds of outfits, pajama outfits.
Well, let's walk through here. So you flew out to Ohio to visit him at his house in Warren, Ohio?
No, Newton Falls.
Newton Falls. So you flew out to see him at the Newton Falls house, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said he had a party with his friends. Where were his friends from?
Oh, from Ohio. I don't know the names of the towns. I'm not very familiar. The only names I know is Warren. But he had friends from U.S. Air Force. They all from the U.S. Air Force, the guys.
Okay. So a lot of the friends were his Air Force friends?
Yes.
Okay. And he had a party?
He had a pajama party.
Okay. Did he throw the party?
No, Gary Swigan did. No, I'm sorry. Chris Swigan.
Chris Swigan. And you spell Swigan S-W-E-A-G-E-N?
I think it's S-W-E-G-A-N.
Okay, well, we'll go with that. S-W-E-G-A-N. Okay. So, Mr. Swigan threw the party?
He threw the party.
Okay. And did Carl ask you to get dressed up?
He gave me exactly directions as to what I should buy for me and for him, colors, everything, the model, the shoes. he went into details about what he wanted me to wear and told me to buy it. He said he was going to reimburse me for it, but he never did.
Okay. And what did he have you buy?
Sexy white silk pajama that was see-through and a high heel, I don't know how to explain, one of those Victoria's Secret shoe that has a pom-pom. I don't know how to explain.
Okay. So a high-heeled shoe with a pom-pom on it?
Yeah, everything was white or off-white, and it was very sexy. I feel like a hooker. I felt like a hooker, but he gave me directions, and he told me to buy him pajamas too, that were navy with some pattern, and I did exactly what he told me to do.
Okay. And were you uncomfortable wearing it?
I was extremely embarrassed, yes.
And why did you go ahead and do it?
Because I wanted to make him happy.
Okay. And after that visit, it was his turn to come to New York?
After that, he went to New York. I think it was just a week after that.
Okay. And did anybody come to New York with him?
Yes, his son, Brent, he was a 16-year-old. He's a tall boy. I think he's 6'4". He's autistic. And we had a good time. I took them around to show them all the restaurants and museums. I took them to a lot of places.
Okay.
We took pictures.
And who paid for everything during that visit?
I did.
Okay. And so then the next time you guys got together, it would have been your turn to come to Ohio, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember when you came to Ohio?
This whole thing took place in May. So I would say end of May I came. It was my second trip to Ohio.
Okay. And did you go anywhere when you came to Ohio?
Yes, we went to Put-in Bay.
Okay. When you came to Ohio, did you know you were going to Put-in-Bay?
No.
Okay. So can you tell us what happened? So you flew in to Ohio and went to his house in Newton Falls, and then what happened?
He said, we're going to spend the weekend somewhere, but he didn't tell me where. He said, just bring a little overnight bag with some clothes to sleep. We're going to spend 2 days away. But he didn't explain to me where we're going.
Okay. And so you left Newton Falls, and did you meet up with anybody?
Well, he took his car and he drove to his brother's house, Paul Hoerig. I don't remember exactly where he lived, maybe Poland. And he left his car there, and his brother, Paul Hoerig, drove us to the ferry.
Okay. And were there any sort of discussions that you found unusual in the car?
Yeah, they were discussing about a wedding, a reception, a wedding that was going to take place with a reception. They were discussing where this reception was going to be, the location. I wasn't familiar with the names, but they were saying names of hall. I wasn't paying much attention because everything was so foreign to me. I didn't understand the names of the places, so I was kind of in my own world. They were talking. I didn't know that actually they were talking about my wedding party, and I didn't know I was going to get married.
Okay. And when you got to Put-in-Bay, all Paul's friends were there?
No, Paul.
Carl's. I'm sorry. All Carl's friends were there when you got to?
Yes, Chris Wiegand, Gary Dodge, and then the guy that was here as a witness. I don't remember his last name. And and the wives too, and all girlfriends. Actually, at that point, there was nobody married at that point, but they all were engaged to get married.
Okay. And did you find out that there was a special sort of party going on at Putin Bay?
Well, I didn't know that there was a party, but it was. Everybody came to me to say, congratulations, congratulations. And I was embarrassed. I thought I was missing something on the English language. I said, what is that I am missing? Because I don't know what they are congratulating me for. And I was just, thank you, trying to giving it enough time for me to pick up and understand what they were congratulating me for. And they were congratulating me for my engagement. That was my engagement party that I had no idea. I didn't know anything about it.
Okay. Did he give you a ring at that time?
No.
After the Putin Bay party and visit, you went back to New York.
After the Putin Bay, yes, I think I took a bus, Greyhound bus back to New York because everything was me and I was running short of money, so I took the bus because I couldn't afford the airplane ticket.
Okay. But you went back to New York City.
I went back to New York City, yes.
And continued living your life.
Yeah, we continued talking on the phone and making plans to get married in August.
Okay. And at that time, were you working? Where were you working?
I was working in that, I think it's called a PR company that promotes books as a controller, as an accountant.
Okay. And had you told them about meeting Carl and getting married?
No, I was very proud of him because he had sent me a lot of pictures in U.S. Army uniform and holding guns like this. He looked so good. And I was proud of him, and I was showing my coworkers and my boss his pictures. They were very impressed with him. They said, where'd you find this guy? He's really good looking. And I said, yeah, I'm dating him. I didn't say anything about engagement or plans to get married because I thought it was too soon. I was embarrassed.
Okay. And at this time you said you guys were talking about getting married in August.
Yes.
And those plans changed. Why those plans changed?
Because he felt that me being in New York and all those pictures that I had on Match.com, and I hadn't yet taken them down. He was afraid that somebody else was going to propose to me, and he was going to lose me. So he said we better close those 500-mile gap because you may change your mind about marrying me. So he was anxious to get married, very anxious.
Okay. And so did you guys move the wedding date up?
Yeah, then all of a sudden he said, let's forget about this whole thing about marriage, wedding, reception. Let's just go to Las Vegas.
Okay. And you guys went to Las Vegas?
And then he said, we can have our wedding reception after we get married. Let's hurry up and get married before you meet somebody else.
Okay. And so you guys ended up getting married on June 30th, 2005.
Yeah, that was only 50 days after we met the first time, yes. Okay. June 30th, 2005.
And that was the fifth time you'd actually met in person?
Yes.
Okay, so he'd been to New York twice, you'd been to Ohio twice, and you're getting married.
Yeah.
Okay. Who paid for everything when you were in Las Vegas?
Me, I paid for everything. The hotel, the air ticket, the food.
Who paid?
My wedding dress, I don't remember what I bought him some clothes. I just don't remember what I bought him.
Okay. Who paid for the wedding rings?
I did.
Now, after you got married in Las Vegas, while you were still there, did you have some concerns?
Yeah, while we were there, I didn't have a good feeling about the whole thing. So we talked and we decided not to get married. We both decided not to get married.
Okay. And then something changed?
We went to the airport and we tried to get another flight. It was going to cost the same amount of the ticket, $500 a piece, to reschedule it. So we said, you know what, we're here, let's have a good time, let's enjoy ourselves. So we stayed, and then the next day he said, you know what, let's do it, let's get married. And I kind of went along with, if he said, let's not get married, I would agree with him. He said, let's get married, I would agree with him. It's just whatever he said, I would agree with him. So when he changed his mind and said, no, I want to do it, I said, okay, let's do it. So I was going along with everything he wanted.
Okay. And after you got married, though, did you have some concerns?
Yeah, right after I got married, I said, you know, I made a big mistake. I wanted to know this thing, and he felt the same way. Actually, he agreed with me, and as soon as we landed in Ohio, that same day, I think it was 4th of July, that same day I said, Carl, I'm going to New York, I'm packing my stuff. And I think I drove, yes, I did drive, I drove that time. No, maybe not, don't get confused. But I remember I told him, I'm going back to New York today. And then just, I said, we're going to annul this wedding, this marriage. I'm going back to New York today. So I left that day.
Okay. And you went back to New York?
I went back to New York.
And you intended not to come back to Ohio?
No, I intended never to come back to Ohio ever again.
And you went back to the job you had in New York, right?
I went back to my job. I was 2 days late. I believe it was on Wednesday, and I missed work Monday and Tuesday. So the reason why I'm getting confused with the car is because I gave a story to my boss saying that I drove there, my car broke down. There was no car. I just got confused in my head. That was the story I gave my boss why I didn't show up for work on Monday. I didn't tell her that. Didn't tell her that I went to Las Vegas to get married.
Okay. So you actually lied to her about getting married?
I didn't tell her. I just didn't have the courage to tell her.
Okay, why didn't you tell her?
So I was embarrassed of meeting a man in 50 days, marrying a total stranger.
Okay. And eventually you changed your mind and moved to Ohio. Why?
Because I went back to Ohio that 4th of July, and I just went back to my job, and I told my boss, I'm sorry I missed work Monday, Tuesday, but I'm here. This will never happen again. And I was there for 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, he called me 9 o'clock in the morning and say, when are you coming back?
Well, let's stop there. When you said he called me, who called you?
Carl.
Okay. So Carl called you at 9 o'clock in the morning.
And what was at work.
And what happened?
He said, did you tell your boys yet that you got married? I said, no, I haven't. He said, well, you have until noon to tell your boss that you married me, this man in Ohio. And I said, and then he said, if you don't, I'm going to tell her. I think before he said, I'm calling your boss now and telling her that you married this man in Ohio. I said, no, I want myself to tell her that what I did. I don't want her to hear from you. And he said, I'll give you until 12 noon for you to tell your boss. If you don't, I'm going to call her and tell her.
And did you tell your boss?
Yeah, I gathered my courage, my strength, and I walked into her office, and I told Heidi Kropp was her name. Heidi, Heide, Kropp, K-R-O-P-P. I went into her office and I told her everything. I said, I'm so sorry that I did this, that I lied about Mary. I was very embarrassed. And she said, you're fired.
Okay. And so then did you decide to move to Ohio?
I was expecting that she would not fire me. I expected that she would keep me and I would annul my marriage, but she fired me. And then it was so hard to get that job because I had been fired from my other job and my resume wasn't looking too good. Imagine being fired again. New York is competition is very hard, and if your resume is not very good, you don't stand a chance. So I knew that for me to get another job with that, that bad record, it was not going to be easy. So I saw I lived from paycheck to paycheck, so I knew that it was not going to be easy for me to find another job. And so I felt that I had no choice. I had to move to Ohio because I couldn't, it was not going to be easy to find another job.
Well, you talked about...
I'm sorry.
Stop. Just wait a second. Let me ask you a question here, Chris. You talked a little bit about living paycheck to paycheck, right?
Yes.
Now, you did have a decent-sized sum of money saved up, correct?
Yeah, but that money was not to use on a day-to-day basis. Was just, to keep that money. I was single. I had no family in here. That money, I never intended to touch it.
Okay, and how much money was that?
$40,000.
Okay, $40,000?
$40,000.
Okay, and where did you keep that?
In a safe deposit box.
Okay, and so you decided to move to Ohio to try and make your marriage work.
Well, because he gave me this ultimatum and I lost my job, I had no place to go but come here. At least I would have a roof over my head, and I thought I was going to have food.
Okay.
I thought I'm not going to have a lot of expenses, so I'm going to move there. And also he said something very nice that it compelled me to come. He said, you belong here with me, your husband, in Ohio. You belong by my side. Let's forget about everything that happened. Let's start fresh. We belong together. I thought those words were very sincere words. I believe those words.
Okay. And you still had your condo in New York?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able to rent that out?
I rented that out.
Okay. And so when you moved out to Ohio, what did you find?
Oh, I found Brent there. His 6'4", 16-year-old autistic son there, and I was confused about what he was doing there. And
why were you confused about the fact Brent was living with him?
Well, I didn't know he was living there. I thought he was spending some time in there, but it was our honeymoon. I didn't expect to see his kids spending vacation some days in Newton Falls. He lived in North Carolina. I was surprised to see him there.
Carla told you that Brent lived with his mother in North Carolina.
Yes.
So you move out here to Newton Falls, and you're living with Carl and Brent, correct?
Well, yeah. He said, this situation with my son, his mother's not raising him correctly. He gained a lot of weight. I want to straighten out this boy, his hygiene and everything. So I need him with me for a while. Do you mind? If I said no, it was going to be a big problem. I said, well, okay. Oh my God, he's already here.
Okay. And you were in Ohio for a little bit, and then Carl left for Texas.
Yeah, we married June 30th, came back from Las Vegas, like first week of June. And then 30 days later, he told me he was making a career change. He was going to be with the U.S. Air Force part-time, and he was going to join Southwest part-time. Well, I think he lied to me. He said he made $120,000 with the U.S. Force, and he was going to take a pay cut, be part-time with the U.S. Air Force and part-time with Southwest. Together, his income was going to drop to the same thing I was making. I was making $62,000. He was going to make a little under what I was making, maybe $60,000.
So,
but it didn't matter to me because I had my own money.
okay, well, let's stop and work our way back. So you've moved out to be out with Ohio. Sorry, start that. You've moved to Ohio to be with Carl, right?
Yes.
And he left to go to Texas for training with Southwest Airlines.
Yeah, only 30 days. He just announced to me, look, I'm going to make a career change here, and I need to be away for 3-4 months. You're going to be here along with Brent, because Brent cannot be by himself, but you were married, and he can stay with you. And I was, okay.
Okay, so let's stop there. So he just says, you're going to live here with Brent, and he leaves for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, 30 days after we got married.
Okay. And you'd only met Brent the one time in New York?
Yes.
And did he leave you any money or any funds to take care of yourself or to take care of Brent?
No, I had expectation that he would pay for my food and Brent's food because I wasn't working. I had savings, but I had no intentions of spending that money. And he left us with no money to eat, not for me or Brent, nothing. So I had to feed ourselves, me and Brent. So I used the money, the savings that I had. I started using that savings for food, for clothes, for me, for Brent. Brent ate quite a bit. He was a big boy. He liked his snacks. And a lot of soda, a lot of, they don't call it soda in Ohio, they call it pop, a lot of pop. He ate quite a bit.
Okay. And so after 3 or 4 months, Carl comes back from Texas.
About 3 or 4 months he came back from Texas.
Okay. And how was your marriage at that point?
Not good, because Carl lived in the past, and he couldn't accept anything going wrong. He had high plans for Brent. Brent wasn't meeting his expectations as far as losing weight and hygiene and finding a girlfriend and getting his driver's license. Brent was only about the computer. He was very frustrated with this whole thing, and he was never happy about anything. So he wasn't happy with himself, and it was difficult.
Well, let's stop there. Let's talk about your marriage to Carl. How was your marriage to Carl when you got back from being gone for 3 or 4 months?
It was not good. It was not good because, there was a kid there that he felt responsible to straighten out that boy, and he wasn't succeeding. He was taking it hard. He was not well.
Okay. And in December of 2005, you and Carl went on a trip?
Yes, we went on a trip to Brazil.
Okay, and why did you go to Brazil?
To meet my family.
Okay. And how long were you in Brazil?
Maybe 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks.
And who paid for that trip?
I paid for everything. I paid for the ticket, the food, the hotel, everything. We bought clothes down there. I paid for everything.
Okay. And in December of 2005, you found an accounting job in Ohio, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what did you use the paycheck from that job for?
Oh, I paid every expense in the house, food, everything. If you need paint for the house. He was always remodeling. He had an obsession with remodeling, painting walls all the time, taking walls down. He was always rebuilding the house. So I paid for everything except for the mortgage and the electric. Everything else was on me. Everything was on me. He was always sending me to store. Go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, buy this, buy that. He would give me a list. Go to the supermarket. I want this, and that. He would tell me exactly what he wanted, he never gave me money for those things. I just had to go and bring those things home, and I used my money.
Okay. Claudia, I'm going to show you what's marked as Exhibit I-1. And can you look at those real quick?
Sure. Yes.
Do you know what those are?
Yes, I do.
And what are those?
This is Carl's first email to me on Match.com.
Okay. And there's more than one page there?
Yes, there is a second email to me as well.
Okay. Can you look at the whole packet, all the pages, and tell me what they are?
There is third page is his third email to me from Match.com, and fourth page is now we're corresponding directly from our personal emails. I was on AOL, he was on Hotmail. We are no longer corresponding through Match.com, and this is May 3rd. That's
Well, without saying what's in the emails, is that the packet, the correspondence between you and him on Match.com?
yes, those are emails that we exchanged since the day we met on May 27th until I see here May 23rd. No, sorry. We met April 27th, and here there are emails through May 23rd, May 25th, May 25th, yes, through May 25th. So about 30 days of emails.
Okay. And there are some handwritten notes on those?
Yes,
Whose notes are those?
mine.
And you've reviewed this exhibit L1 before?
Yes,
Or I1, sorry, I1. Okay. Is this a true and accurate record of the emails that you and he sent back and forth?
yes it is.
Now, jumping back to where I was, in the middle of 2006, you switched jobs in Ohio?
It's either June, July, or August of 2006.
Okay. And why'd you switch jobs?
He got me a new job in a CPA firm through his friend David, who had a CPA firm. So he got me a better job, money-wise.
Okay. And how much did you make at that new job?
I was making $62,000 a year. It was over $5,000 a month.
Okay. And when you moved to Ohio, you opened up an account with Skybank?
I did.
Okay. That account was only in your name?
Only my name, and actually I used my voting last name. I didn't switch to his name because I thought the marriage was not going to work, so I didn't bother using his last name.
Okay. And your New York driver's license said Bolte on it.
I used my New York driver's license with the name Bolte because I didn't want to use his last name. I really knew this was not going to go anywhere, this marriage.
And this account was totally separate from Carl's account.
We always kept money separate. I never saw $1 of his money. I don't know what his paycheck was, how much it was. I never seen it. He never showed it to me.
And so your accounts were always completely separate.
Completely separate.
And you paid for everything but the mortgage and the electric out of your account.
Yes, I was, we didn't discuss it. He just had a way to make me pay for things. Even though we didn't discuss it, I wind up, because he wouldn't pay for the food, and he wanted to eat good. He said, what are we having for, I want to eat such and such for dinner. He actually gave me a menu. I had to follow a menu of food. Monday is this, Tuesday is that. I had to follow that menu. They had recipes and I had to follow it. And I had to produce that. Cook, buy and cook. He assigned that to me.
And during your marriage to Carl, he was often short of money, right?
Well, he was always putting me against a corner for money. I don't know anything about his expenses, actually, about his money. He never told me, he never disclosed that to me.
Okay.
I never seen a big statement of his or a paycheck. I don't know much about his finances.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit J1. Do you know what those are?
Yeah, that's my bank account. My bank account only under my name, Claudia Hoerig. I didn't want to use his name.
And that's your Skybank account.
That's my Skybank, but I have another bank account, city bank account, and I don't know why it's not in the records.
Okay.
I paid a lot of stuff. My credit card was out of the city bank account.
Okay. But those records are your Skybank account records,
My
correct?
Skybank account.
And do you know when those records start? What the first month of those records are?
Well, I noticed that this starts 6 months after I opened the account. I opened the account in July of 2005, but this starts in January of 2006, so it's missing 6 months in a year.
Okay. Is it January 2006 or March 2006?
Says 1.
Okay. So it starts...
January of 2006.
Okay. And when do they end?
Ends March 16, 2007.
Okay. And from January of 06 to January of 07, you loaned Carl $7,075 out of that account?
Out of that account, yes.
And you kept a record of how much he repaid you, right?
I did.
Okay. And at the time of his death, he still owed you $636?
Yes, another purchase that I bought some trees for the house and plant, and he said he was going to pay me. So that's another $1,000 that he didn't pay me.
Okay. But the $7,075 you talked about, that was cash that you just loaned to him when he asked you, right?
Yes, you can trace that through the Skybank account.
Okay. And then you asked that he repaid you all the $636.
Yes.
And you talked about some trees. You had paid for some trees for the house, and he said he would repay you, right?
Yes.
And he hadn't.
No, he did not.
Are you aware if Carl got a $2,000 credit card advance in December of 2006?
Yes, he mentioned that to me.
And at this time he was working for Southwest Airlines and for the Air Force Reserves.
Yes, he was.
And what was his schedule when he worked for Southwest Airlines?
Every 4 days went like that. 2.5 days flying and 1.5 day at home. He was burned out. He was exhausted. That kind of lifestyle he was starting to complain that he was tired.
Okay. So he spent 2.5 days away from home and then a day and a half at home.
Yes.
And then did he also have to work for the Air Force Reserve?
Yes, he did.
And how often did he work for them?
I want to say twice a month, but maybe it was weekly. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Okay. And on that day and a half when Carl was home, did you guys go out and eat and do all sorts of those things?
Yes, we always went out to eat.
And did Carl have any specific requirements for the way you dressed when you went out to eat?
Yes, Carl always picked my clothes and laid it down on the bed, and he picked the shoes. Had to be open-toe shoes. I was not allowed to wear boots or only for work, or closed-toe shoes. With him, I was not allowed, even if it was snowing out. I was not allowed to wear shoes like this type that hides the toes. I was not allowed to do that.
Okay, so
or wear jackets or coat, even if it was snowing out. I was not allowed to wear that kind of clothes.
Okay. And let's walk back. You picked up and showed the shoe you were wearing just
Yes.
now, and it's a closed-toed heel shoe. It's
No.
closed-toed. You can't see your toes.
No, the other way around. I had to wear only shoes that would show my toes.
Right. What I was saying is the court reporter can't show what you are doing. So when you picked up and showed your shoe, that's a shoe that you can't see your toes with, right?
That type, I was not allowed to wear that type of shoe with him.
Okay. So, and when you went out to eat, who paid for the meals?
I paid for the meals.
Okay. Did you and Carl often go out with his friends from the Air Force?
Yes.
Okay. And did he have requirements for what you wore then?
Yes, he always picked my clothes. I had to wear all silk shirts. Had to be a certain cut, a certain type. He picked all my clothes. Always picked my clothes to wear when I was with him. He didn't care what I wore for work, but when I was with him, I had to wear only what he picked for me to wear.
And as you saw earlier, at the time of Carl's death, you had about 70 pairs of shoes and all sorts of other outfits?
Yes, I always had a lot of clothes.
Okay. Did some of those come with you from New York?
Most of it.
Okay. And it was out of that group that he picked what you wore?
Yes, exactly.
Now, did you pay for those clothes?
Yes, I paid for everything I ever owned. He never bought me one piece of clothes. And my clothes, they were very cheap. They were like $5, $10. If you ever find anything $25, it was an exception. My clothes were cheap clothes.
Okay. And where did you buy those clothes?
JCPenney.
You're a New York girl at heart, right?
I'm a what?
A New Yorker girl at heart? You're a New Yorker?
Oh, yeah. Because I'm a city woman. I came from Rio de Janeiro, which is like New York. New York doesn't have the beach, but the feeling is the same. That business, a lot of people are used to that kind of environment.
Did you like to wear the same outfit multiple times? The same set of clothes? Did you like to wear the same set of clothes over?
No, I'd rather wear a different style, cheap but different. even if it's $3, $5. I just wanted to wear it and not to worry about it anymore. That's what we've been doing in New York.
Okay.
They buy cheap clothes, lots of it.
When Carl was home and you guys were in the house, did he have specific requirements for what you wear?
Yes. Basically, I could only wear a skirt, short skirt with heels. He liked that pom-pom heel. But I could wear other shoes as long as it was high heel, open toes, and just a very small top. During the day, but if it was other times it was later at night, I had to walk around just in heels, no clothes, naked.
And why did you put up with all of this?
I wanted really to be married. I want to make him happy. I was used to high demand. I came from that kind of background that, people were hard on me in my life, and I kind of was used to high demand, and he wasn't. The demand, what he did was different, but the demand, I was always used to meet people's demands. So he was a very demanding man, and I thought that over time he was going to mellow out. He was older, he was 40, I was 40. People get set in their ways. I thought even over time he was going to let go of those weird things that he did. I thought he was going to change.
Now, we saw pictures earlier that all of your clothing and your makeup and your jewelry were all in the basement of the house?
Yes.
And you had like a dressing area down there?
Yes, with a mirror and a surface where I kept all my makeup and jewelry.
Why was all of your stuff in the basement?
Because Carl did not allow me to keep anything of mine in the bedroom. I was not allowed to keep, even if it was socks, nothing, not even my shoe. The only piece of thing I was allowed to keep in the bedroom was that shoe with the pom-pom. He loved that shoe. He allowed me to have that there, but no other thing, nothing, not a makeup, not a piece of anything of mine. He didn't like that, but that was my bedroom for sleeping.
Okay. And you had a computer.
I have a computer.
And where'd you keep your computer?
In the basement.
Okay. And at this time, Carl was gone, 2.5 days every week, every 4 days?
Yes.
So 2.5 days you were home alone, and then he was there in a day and a half?
Yes.
Did you get to pick out any furniture for the house, any furniture for the family room or anything?
No, the house only belongs to him. He was the only one allowed to pick colors for the walls or furniture. I was only allowed to clean and cook, but the house was his. I wasn't allowed to pick anything for the house.
Now, there was a foosball table?
There was a foosball table in the main living room.
Okay. Did you like that?
No, I thought it was weird. I wanted to have furniture in there.
Okay. Let's walk back to July of 2005, right after you guys got married. You got pregnant.
I got pregnant.
Okay, was that a surprise?
It was a surprise because I was married 10 years before and I never got pregnant. And I thought that I was already 40. I thought that it was too late for me to get pregnant. I was not going to. My first husband had problems, and I guess that's why I didn't get pregnant.
Okay.
But still.
Had you and Carl talked about having kids?
We did.
You didn't?
No, we didn't talk about the kid stuff. And he asked me how I felt about kids. I said, I don't mind if I never have children. I'm so used to. I don't know. I'm old now. I don't think about those things anymore. I don't think about becoming a mother because I think I'm too old for that.
How did Carl react when you told him you were pregnant?
He was not a good reaction. He said that I set him up, and he didn't want anything to happen to my body which belonged to him. He didn't want me to have stretch marks like happened to his first wife, and he hates stretch marks, and he said they can cause all troubles, sexual trouble, difficulty, sexual difficulty with his first wife, Rhonda, because she had stretch marks, and he didn't want to take a chance of me getting stretch marks. He didn't want me to get pregnant, to wreck my body.
And did he suggest a course of action to you?
He said he was looking for an abortion clinic for me to have an abortion.
Did you want to have an abortion?
No, I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to have an abortion. I didn't plan this, I didn't want to, didn't think I could get pregnant, but I didn't think about motherhood. I didn't crave it because I never felt it. But once I had that thing inside of me, I wanted it. I didn't want to have the abortion, no.
Did this cause a lot of stress between you and Carl?
Very, very, very much so.
And what happened?
Well, when he realized that I'm really not going to have the abortion, he started torturing me psychologically, physically, finding ways to stress me out so I would have a natural abortion, what do you call it, a miscarriage. Sleep deprivation. He would make me run miles, and then he would leave me out in the middle of the woods in Newton Falls, dark like 6 p.m., and then disappear. I would freak out and start running real fast because I was scared that he left me behind. So I started running. I was pregnant, and then I guess that it wasn't good. It was early pregnancy. He would do that and he wanted me to get in real good shape. He made me to work out with weights, and he was like a personal trainer while I was pregnant. I guess all of this made me have the miscarriage.
Okay. So you had a miscarriage?
I did have a miscarriage, yes, in the middle of the night, and I woke him up and said, Carl, I'm feeling a lot of pain. I haven't seen the blood. I'm having a lot of pain here, like I'm having my period. And then I sat in the bed, and then I looked down, and there was blood. I said, there's blood here, there was blood. I didn't think of it. I didn't have experience with it. There's blood. It was the middle of the night. He said, okay, we'll go to the doctor in the morning. And we went to the doctor in the morning.
And you'd had a miscarriage?
I had a miscarriage, yes.
And what happened after the miscarriage?
Well, I became very depressed with that because I was already looking to baby's clothes, even though he didn't want it. But I was determined to keep it. I was looking to baby's clothes, and he caught me looking at that. He said, what are you doing? I said, Carl, please, don't talk to me about that. Okay, so I was tuning him out, and I just decided I was going to have that baby, and he decided I was not going to have that baby, so he was doing whatever he was doing to make me not have it, and I was doing whatever I need to do to have it, to keep it. So we were just going in opposite directions. There was a lot of friction between us at that time.
And then in February of 2006, you got pregnant a second time?
I did.
Was that also a surprise?
It was.
How did Carl react when you told him about the second?
Oh man, he said, we already discussed that. You keep setting me up. You're going to have an abortion. I said, Carl, we already discussed that. Don't even bring it back. Don't bring it up to me. We're not discussing pregnancy in this house. We're not discussing it.
Okay. And you had
But, he had his silent tactics with me of not letting me sleep. He knew what he was doing. I didn't realize at the time that they were torture tactics and tactics to make me stressed that my body would reject that pregnancy because of the level of stress. He knew exactly what he was doing. He would do mental torture, not let me sleep, even though he knew I had to wake up early because I was already working with my first job. So I was exhausted pretty much because it was tax season and all. It was about February or March of 2006.
Well, let's talk about that. So Carl would be gone for every 2.5 days out of 4, right? That's a yes?
That's a yes.
Okay. And then when he was in town, he wanted to stay up late and watch TV and spend time with you, right?
I don't know if you call that spend time with me. I was obligated to watch TV with him. He would lay down on the couch and I had to sit by his foot and just not move like a statue. And if I coughed or anything and changed position, he would give me a dirty look and really have an evil look to his face. But I was allowed to get up to get him drinks or food. He ate a lot. He was always telling me, get up, go make something for me to eat, make this, make that. I want a specific drink. He would drink specific things, and he was drinking a lot. I started drinking a lot in 2006.
Let's back up and focus on what we're talking about. So he'd stay up until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning?
No, further than that. At least 3 o'clock. 3:30, 3:30.
Okay. And you'd have to get up the next day and go to work?
Yeah, I had to get up at 5.
Okay. And in this second marriage, you had another miscarriage with the second pregnancy?
Yes, in February of 2006.
Okay. Now, you and Carl had an active sex life, correct?
We did, but it was not normal sex.
Okay. Carl had issues in the bedroom?
Yeah, he was not able to perform without Viagra or without bondage or without something weird or me pretending to be dead. He would not get an erection with normal sex.
And you talked earlier in your interview that was played about a website called Hogtied.
Hogtied.
What was that website?
It's about sadomasochism. It's about bondage.
Okay. And would he make you do things he saw on the website?
Yes, but this also, yes he did. But this was all after we got married. He never hinted to me that he had any sexual issue or fetish. Is that called fetish? Fetish. I cannot say that word. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I never noticed before we got married. What I know is that he was very nervous about his penis. He had a lump in the middle of his penis that he said some woman, when he was deployed, he went to Germany. She sat on his penis. She broke it. He has this lump, and that turned into cancer. He was freaking out about having cancer, and he was freaking out about not performing. He asked me if I was going to leave him. I said, no, I know that a lot of men have sexual issues because they get nervous and they cannot perform. I didn't see anything wrong with that. I didn't see it coming. I didn't think anything of it.
As this went on and all this went on, again, why didn't you leave?
Because I thought, he's 40. What man doesn't have emotional baggage? He told me that stories about horrible marriage with Rhonda, how much she was evil sexually to him and did so many horrible things to him, traumatized him. I thought that was the reason. I said, I'm not that way, so whatever traumas he has from his past, over time, I'm going to help him overcome these these issues.
Okay. And in 2006, Carl approached you about getting a maid, correct?
Yes, that was end of 2006.
Okay. And where did you want to get a maid from, and why did you want to get a maid?
He wanted a maid from Brazil. He wanted to be like, he watched the show called Big Love, which is a man with multiple wives, and he wanted to bring a maid from Brazil. He said, you work a lot, so she will do the house cleaning, and she will be like my second wife, and you're only going to get the good part, you're going to get the sex, she's going to do the cleaning, and then we're all going to have sex. It's going to spice up our sex life.
Okay. And did you give him your opinion about that idea?
I did.
And what was your opinion about that idea?
I said, talk to the hand. I'm not listening to this kind of stuff.
Okay. And how did that go over?
He wouldn't stop. He would also say the same thing to me. Talk to the hand. I want this maid. You're going to make it happen. You're going to file the papers. You know exactly what to do. I want this maid here. And we both would talk to each other, talk to the hand. We're not listening to each other.
Okay. And I think on your interview you talked about another show you liked called Miles High.
Miles High.
And what was that TV show about?
Miles High was about the lifestyle of that he really, that's the whole reason why I think now he left the U.S. Force. Miles High was about pilots and the pilots and the crew, men having sex with men and women have sex with men and women, they all having swapping. It was, what is that called? RG? O-R-G-Y? Like swinging, it's like big.
And so that's what the show was about?
That's what the show was about, and I was forced to watch men with men, women with women. It's a big sex party.
Now, did Carl talk to you about engaging in this sort of conduct?
Yes, he was pushing me to towards his pilot. I guess it was the captain. He was trying to have me sleep with a pilot.
Okay. And you didn't approve of this lifestyle?
No, I'm conservative. I don't approve of that kind of swapping, couple swapping. I don't like it.
Okay. Did that cause problems in your marriage?
Yes. He felt I was too uptight. He actually told me, look, I've been around for a long time and done everything in this life, and sexually, for me to get an erection, it takes a lot. I need to do a lot of different stuff.
Okay. Another issue that caused, or another problem that caused issues with his wife was he was obsessed with Carla Di Castillo.
Carla Di Castillo was his second wife. He met her in Peru, and he brought her to the United States. She was a woman that didn't speak any English, and his obsession with me was because I looked just like Carla Di Castillo. Her hair was a little darker than mine. He made me dye my hair darker, black, so I would look more like her. He spoke about her 24/7. Lying in bed, he would speak about her. In the car, he would speak about her. He would speak about her all the time. And this woman didn't speak any English, and he abused the life out of her and threw her out when she insisted on having a child, and he threw her out.
Let's stop there. And did that also cause problems in your marriage?
Well, it did, because instead of us being in bed, hugging, and kissing, I would be his therapist in bed, and him talking about Bertha, another girlfriend, and Carla Di Castillo, an ex-wife, and I had to be his therapist about old relationships.
Okay. And even with all this, you stayed with him. Why?
Like I said, I thought that man had a lot of issues that I could help him overcome these issues. I thought I had an inclination to be a psychologist and help people, so I thought I could fix him and help him overcome his psychological issues and sexual issues.
Okay. After your second miscarriage in 2006, you noticed some changes in your mental health?
Yeah, a lot of changes. My physical, first of all, I started gaining weight. The depression caught up with me from the first miscarriage, and then the second miscarriage. Me working a lot, not getting enough sleep, a lot of demands. I have to keep the house perfect. He once got home and there was one single glass, dirty glass in the sink. He said, "Come here." He sat me on the couch like a little girl and said, "You know, if you clean the house 99 times and you don't clean it once, to me it's like you never cleaned the house 100 times. So he made me understand that he wanted a perfectly clean house. In a glass, in the sink, him coming home from a trip, he didn't expect to see that. So he was very demanding on me. So it was a lot of demand on my physical, so many rules that I have to follow. I cannot do this, I cannot do that. I have to wear this clothes, I have to wear that clothes, I have to eat this, I cannot eat that. So I can speak, I cannot think, I cannot have an opinion. I couldn't do anything. I had to be invisible. I have to be like a robot, a geisha, a doll. I wasn't a human. He didn't treat me like a human being. He didn't treat me like I was a person. Then I became depressed. After Brent left, I think it was June of 2006, we had, he was more affectionate, but he fell apart. All his mental issues were surfaced.
Well, let's stop there, okay? And let's back up and ask a question. So you talked about in mid-2006, Brent left the house, right?
Yes. He went back to his mother in North Carolina.
And you noticed the change in Carl at that point in time?
I did.
And what sort of changes did you notice?
Well, he became more affectionate, but at the same time, he became more fragile. It's like, let me see what really was inside of him. And he was tormented. He was in so much pain. He couldn't forgive anything that went wrong in his past. His divorce from Rhonda, that he thought destroyed his kids. His kids became fat. He couldn't live with that, and then he couldn't live. He had aspirations of becoming a politician, and he thought a divorced man has less chance of becoming a politician because a politician has to have the perfect house, the perfect yard, the perfect kids, the perfect wife, and there's nothing else perfect. And he was falling apart. So I had to take care of my own psychological issues, had to work long hours, and I had to take care of Carl that was falling apart because of his daughter getting pregnant, 18-year-old daughter getting pregnant. Brent, his son, going back to North Carolina, he had no control. He was a control freak. He had no control over his kids. He has no control over anything. He was freaking out. He was drinking. He was in bad shape. And then he started having bad landings, airplane landings with Southwest. He would come home and say, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job. So I had to be a therapist for him and say, calm down.
Okay. Well, let's stop there. So there was a lot going on with Carl's life at that time.
A lot.
And could Carl go see a doctor or a counselor or a psychologist?
No, he did not, because he felt if I put on record that I'm seeing a therapist or psychiatrist or taking
Exactly what she thinks Carl was thinking. We've heard an hour and a half of
Don't argue it. Sustain. Go to another question.
Right. So the issues with Carl made your depression worse, right?
He made my depression worse.
Okay. And in late 2006, you attempted suicide for the first time?
What they?
Late 2006, early 2007, you tried suicide for the first time?
Yes,
Okay. And how did you try to commit suicide?
with a gun.
Okay. And that was the gun that was in the house?
Yes, Carl's gun.
And Carl kept a number of guns in the house?
Many guns.
And early in your marriage, you'd expressed to Carl that you had concerns about living in the country and your safety?
Yes, because being from, coming from a big city, you always worry about people breaking into your house. And he said, I don't have keys to the house. I said, how could you not have keys to the house? Lock the doors. He said, no, in this house we don't lock doors. So that freaked me out.
Okay. Well, going back to that, at that point in time, did he take you out and teach you how to shoot a gun?
Yes.
And was there a pistol in the house that you knew about?
Yes.
And was that the gun you tried to commit suicide with?
Yes.
When you tried to commit suicide, what stopped you?
I didn't have the courage to do it.
So you put
I was afraid of not dying, just getting wounded and not dying. So I didn't have the courage.
And then we move forward to February 7th of 2007. You remember that day?
Oh, say it again. What time?
February 7th of 2007?
Oh, yes.
And on that day, you took all the sleeping medication you had?
Yeah, the sleeping pills, about almost 30.
And you were at your house, right?
In Newton Falls, yes.
And you told Carl that you did this.
I told Carl, look, Carl, I did this. I just want you to know that I took those pills. And I probably will die, but I don't want to die in this house because I don't want you to be responsible for my death. So I'm just going to get in my car and drive away, and I'll die somewhere else. It's not going to be your fault. And before I told him that, I went and hid his car keys so he could not just follow me in my car. It just ran. I said those words to him, and I ran in my car, took the car, started driving, and I lost conscience. Real quick, I think less than 10 minutes or 10 minutes maximum, I lost conscience. So I don't know what happened. Where I drove to, I don't remember the driving because I lost conscience.
Okay. But you ended up in an accident?
I went up in an accident, yes.
Okay.
I fell with the car into a ditch.
Okay. And after the accident, you ended up in the hospital?
Well, they took me to the hospital, they revived me, and they released me, and we were waiting in some room for paperwork, and the nurse said, okay, so she asked him, Mr. Carl, are you ready for Miss Hoerig to come back home? And he hesitated, and she wanted to know why he hesitated. It's because I had just told him before the nurse entered the room about trying to commit suicide with his gun. So he told the nurse about this first suicide, and the nurse said, well, now it's 2 suicides. I'm going to tell that to the psychiatrist. And then she did, and they helped me and put me in a mental hospital for a few days.
So the first hospital you were taken to was the emergency room?
Yes.
Okay. And they gave you something to counteract the sleeping pills and got you all recovered after the accident.
I was unconscious for, I think, more than 24 hours. I don't know what they did to me.
And then the second facility we're talking about is they then committed you to a psychiatric ward because you were a danger to yourself.
Yeah. And I begged him not to do that. I said, you're going to make me lose my job. My job is all I have. You know, I'm a workaholic. And you know, this is my life. Working is my life. You take away my life, my work, my job. You take away everything from me.
Okay. And so on February 7th, you were admitted to St. Joseph's Health Center?
Yes.
Okay. And can you look at what's been marked as Exhibit K1? Do you know what that is?
Someone's affidavit. Someone that worked at St. Joseph Health Center is saying something about my health.
Can you look at what's after the first page? Do you recognize the information on the second page?
Same patient, Claudia Hoerig, where I was employed here, Chicken Dave.
Do those look like your health records from St. Joseph's?
Yes.
Now,
Mr. Cornelli, it's about time for our mid-afternoon break. We can find a good place to
this would be a good spot.
This will be fine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take 15 minutes. Do not discuss this case among yourselves. Without former expressing opinion, report down to the Fed attorney as soon as you take it.